So we're going to continue today, in addition to yesterday's journey, into thinking. It's going to become a bigger soundboard out there. I'm already starting to see it occur in those, taking a deeper dive into what I feel, some call it the dark night of the soul. I feel it's the choice of the individual's desire that they don't know yet to awaken all parts of themselves and to find love and know that they are loved. Is it an easy journey? No. I know this personally. I don't know if you understand that these videos, I think there's probably about 160 now, have all been about versions of my journey through not feeling love. So it started, gosh, really, I've had pieces coming at me. I call myself an OG because it's been like, nothing has like been like, and then now you're awake and good for you. Everything's been like an extended journey, right, through the times, through the different variations of spirituality and all that good stuff. Anyways, all playfulness aside, and you do need to bring laughter into these hard moments because it's intense, and it helps remind you that that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Anyways, so my dark night of the soul, let's say, right, in the most recent one, well, I had a few. Okay, so I've had a few, so I've had it in layers. My most recent one, let's just put it that way. My most recent one was probably about 1.5 years ago. It started with the loss of a job, which I had identified myself to for over 9, almost 10 years. Thinking I wanted to move into this twin flame journey. Then finding out that I'm not moving into that journey. The Divine Mother has something beautiful planned for me, and it's not that specific journey, and that's cool too. I don't know what that journey is yet. So that was another deep dive, right, into identification, how to identify, what are the stories, how I'm identifying myself with the stories. These are all parts of our thinking that are parts of our darkest hours and our most difficult times. And through those times, if you said to pinpoint one specific thing that every book in the world should consist of, it would be that we are worthy of love, and that we are loved immeasurably. Who does not know this? The ego. Who's having the human conditioning experience all the time? Who is connected to the collective, the ego, right? And then, of course, that story is a micro to a macro. So obviously we're all connected to the collective, right? The collective meaning the Divine Mother, the Divine Father, the burst of energy in which we are made from love, right? So we've got all of that out here, and then we've got the, I just want to do that, that'd be fun, energy that comes all the way down to the center gravity point of our humanness, and that is the ego. And that is the part that does not know its love. That is the part that is experiencing the dark night of the soul, when you are everything outside of you. So best friends went away, good friends went away, everything went away in the last 1.5 years. Like literally you end up feeling almost like, in some ways, you have a little, like you might be left some scraps on the table, but those scraps are actually not bad scraps. They're actually awesome scraps. They're like people that are going through similar experiences, or just have natural expanded love inside of them and know that they're meant to support you. And so those are amazing. So that's just one piece of a year and a half. But what I would say, if I took it apart, you know what I mean, and looked at all the pieces, it was to learn that I am loved, not outside loved, not loved by someone else or something else or a job. And I was placing all my identities and how I loved into those places. And those were my stories. And then the stories all went away. And they went away to bring me down to my 0 point, which is the understanding of that I am loved, no matter what outside of me tries to say, do, speak, perform, anything. I am loved. That's guaranteed. I did not have that a year and a half ago. I was just like, what? The first thing I started crying was, it's like, I can't be a better person. So it wasn't, I wasn't a bad person by any means, although some would differ to say that. They were meant to say that, which is really awesome. But I was like, I can't be a better version of myself, right? And I can't, that's where I was at, which I think is really cool, when you can consciously make choices for the best. Not that I was perfect at it, by far few in between would I say that I was perfect at. However, percentage wise, I had a high percentage of good choices. So let's say I had an 80-20 percentage, right? Because I've learned now, in the parts that I didn't have the awareness of I didn't have the awareness of choices that were affecting. I will not derail. I will stay on point, because I felt really called today to share this as I see others going through such a difficult time. I have so much compassion because I know it on a personal level. I found YouTube very helpful, different videos, different people that also had gone through it or could identify with it. So that was helpful, but the real true blue non-negotiable was the inside journey that, so I was on this thing and I was like, I don't think I can't be a better person, and I don't know why, I can't love myself. And that was one of, like, if you asked me for 2 deepest cries that I've had lots of cries, but these were the kind that you almost suffocate from your own breathing because you've cried so hard that you're like, everything in your like nose and brain feel like it's going to explode into a million pieces, and you can't really take an oxygen. And that was definitely not knowing that I was worthy of love. And that's when the Divine Mother Mary and Kuan Yin came through and embraced me. Second time was when I was letting go of the identification of a story called Twin Flame. Now, it's not that I don't believe it exists. I held the seed of knowing it exists. I saw the outcome to that. So it's not that I don't have the capacity to love or be in love. It doesn't take it away from that. I had to give up the story. Like, I had to give up the story of a job defines me and that best friend defines me. I gave up the story for more trust and faith in the Divine Mother and inside myself, that I am loved and that everything that I need will come to me with grace and ease. You can say it, but to be on it and on the journey, which I am on right now, is it's a different story, right? And it creates for you to generate I call them sea legs, because it's moving, the energy's moving, you're learning to move with it, you're learning to be with it, you're learning to identify your thoughts, your thinking, experiences that are created from those thinking patterns, right? And that energy flowing. You're learning to become your ancient sacred self while in the body of a human, while you're human every step of the way, right, is becoming its superhero, and at the same time letting go of the things that don't make it a superhero anymore. I use superhero as a ideology, not as a have-to or storyline, or Susan thinks everyone's superheroes. Well, I do think if you're here on this planet and you're taking this ride, you're pretty cool. So I'm really proud of you, and you should be very proud of yourself. And if I take it a step further, if I am probably your reflection, so I'm probably you just talking back to you. I know when I watch these videos, it's the best parts of me talking back to the parts of me that are scared to remember that those are the best parts of me. Anywho, so thinking has been a really huge part of it. And there are times when I feel like my brain is being hijacked because I'm thinking about things that are non-linear, that are stories from the past, hurts from the past. And those are the times in which I ask for assistance because I don't know why they're coming up. And I don't have this journey figured out. But I do know that what I want to formulate in my brain, in my heart, in my ego is more love on the planet, more divine faith and trust in the Divine Mother that is guiding the ship, and more faith in my I am presence that's help guiding the ship. And those are all coming from the perspective of the ego that knows that it is loved and it is being rocked and nurtured in the embrace of love. And that goes with the story, right? That is my story. Why would I choose that story? This is kind of cool. Well, first of all, it feels authentic, right? So stories have to feel authentic and they have to connect to an emotional state. So my 1.5 years, right, of Dark Night of the Soul, which, by the way, is a piece of some of the other pieces that came before that, which chopped my legs out from underneath me. And then I learned to walk again from a vulnerable state, but that's for another time. But I've definitely posted it on Facebook, so feel free to look up old videos. I posted some pretty authentic videos. When I knew I was going to start doing videos, I started recording. I think it was like 6 years prior, 4 years prior, maybe 4.5 years prior. But I couldn't stay consistent at all. So an experience happened back then that was pretty devastating, and one I'd never experienced before. And it shook my foundation for sure. And it's ironic because even when that occurred, and it was pretty traumatic, I'm not gonna lie. And it's not, there's others, I mean, I could go back in time, but that one happened to be recorded because I was doing my recording diary at the time. And then I posted it on Facebook, which freaked people out, but that's another story altogether. And I think that was 2.5 years ago, right? So a year before, you know, all of this came down, I posted that. So you can only imagine, I've been hedging my way to stand as an example for a long time, like definitely a long time. So when that occurred, one thing I want to tie and correlate to is in the dramaticness of that experience, I heard. Back then I couldn't identify it as the Divine Mother. I just knew that angels were all around me and that Mother Mary was there. And they just kept saying to me, just be still, and everything that is occurring right now is replaceable, but just stay still. And I felt alone, and at the same time I felt taken care of. And I would say that when I went through this last one, right, which I guess the Dark Night, or you can call it a towering moment or whatever, I felt the same thing. Like you feel alone, but then you feel taken care of. And that's a really good identification to remember that if you can feel those two diversities going on, it's the awakening of the ego feeling one again with all that is love. That's deep. That can, like, I'm about ready to cry right now. That is beautiful. That is on point. I want nothing more than for my ego and the ego of every human being on this planet to feel that they are loved and that the Divine Mother loves them. Because when you feel it, it's hard to hang on to, right? Because everything outside of you is telling you a story. It's screaming stories of government and global warming and some crazy things like, murderers and death and, toll count and fires and, you're bombarded, right? And at the same time, there's something within. It has nothing to do with the outer reality system that truly loves us. And there are many examples of why it doesn't feel that way. The thinking, ooh, my eyes are burning right now. The thinking, I have to close my eyes because they're just burning so bad right now. The thinking, the stories of how we think about this information right now is ours alone to choose. I'm not here to even impose my viewpoints on anyone, least of all even myself. But there's a movement inside each and every one of us occurring, whether you can at this point acknowledge it or not acknowledge it, that is moving your ego back to its greatest self. And the ego doesn't know what the greatest self looks like. I mean, you can have gurus outside the wazoo talk to you about what greatest self looks like. And it's not about being the most perfect, amazing person in all the world. You don't have to be that. That yourself guides you. Like I let myself guide me, right? I'm an Aries, so no one's gonna really end up telling me what to do except for myself. And this video is just to say that more burning, closing the eyes. This video is just to say that I have compassion for the journey. I am on the journey with you. It's nice to know that the ego is finding love. Like that, honestly, when I think about it right now, I get so excited that all the parts of that ego, the little girl, the man, the woman, the ethereal, all the parts that the ego is part of, that has been disconnected from, is coming back together. And thinking is a part of it. And the story is a part of it, right? And the journey is long and it's been rough. Now that is a story connected to an emotional state. Because I don't want this video to infer happy-go-lucky, everything's great. It's to infer that It's everything. Like, take a ball of wax and pull it all together, and you're going to see everything inside of that ball of wax. You're going to see it all, you know. But I don't believe there's been as many of us on this planetary system doing this all at the same rhythmic time together. And you can see that a lot on YouTube, which I think is really cool. It's like a rhythmic time together that we're spending, sharing, encouraging, loving, and supporting from our own inner universe. So that is more than what I wanted to share today, but happy to always share what is authentic and what is coming up to be shared through the Divine Mother. You know, she rides through me. She flows through my my stories. She inspires my heart to speak. I have so much burning happening right now in my eyes. Maybe my eyesight is changing, right? Because that's part of the story, right? The way in which we see things. The way in which we see that experience. So sight has everything to do with it. Anyways, sending out a coding for this video is designed for the egos with the highest light, the highest love, and the highest of sounds and vibration.